So, will this film tear our souls apart like the original? Let's check it out. Hello and welcome to another video here at Movie Mash, and today we're going to talk about the new Hellraiser 2022 starring Jamie Clayton, Odessa Azon and directed by David Bruckner. So, quick synopsis. So, a young girl called Riley, who's a recovering drug addict, comes across a box, and as we all know what the box is, and it's a puzzle box, and as she's messing with it, she opens up the Cenobites, which results in the disappearance of her brother, and she has to keep messing with it to try and see if find a way to get him back, but each time having to open up and talk to the Cenobites, and each time as a consequence. And I don't really want to say too much more because I feel like I'll be. So I recently just watched 1 to 4 only the other night, just to kind of. It's been a while, so I thought I'd check him out and before I watch this one. And yeah, I would personally say the second one is my favorite. I mean, I know everyone loves the first, and it is really good. And but the thing is, I like the second. But there's a lot of controversy going around, and everyone moaning about the new Pinhead being a female. Now, look, I haven't read the book, so I don't know. But according to what I know, is actually the character is gender neutral. It's kind of like it with a kind. It's got feminine features. So if they're going to go woke, at least at this one they have a reason. So I don't see it as woke. So you have to bear that in mind. Now, I have to say I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I was expecting the worst. I don't know why, it just was, and maybe that's why for me my expectations were low and it was pretty good. So let's just jump into positives. One thing I liked about this, one thing I liked the most about this, what the others didn't do, was the puzzle box. Each time you opened the puzzle box, it did look like an actual Rubik's Cube in a sense, because it looked complicated. It looked like you're twisting around with all these buttons and it flicks. On the originals, it just seemed to kind of flick up, twist and go down, and it just seemed kind of easy. But on this, there was puzzles and you had to get a certain way, and certain things happened every time you twisted one. And I thought that was actually quite a good idea, because on the others, it was kind of, it seemed like it was supposed to be complicated, but it just seemed to go up, move and twist around, and that was seemed to be it. So I really liked the box and the way it was used on this movie more than the others. Now, I felt this movie was, well, the budget was bigger on this movie than they were on the others, so you know you have to give the others props for that. But I will say that it was better directed than all the others, 1 to 4, and I know I'm going to get killed. I feel like some of the direction and some of the editing after rewatching it could have been a bit tighter, and some things here and there were all over the place. But you know, just little things, only nitpicks. But I felt like the direction on this was actually a bit better than it was on the original, and that's a good. Now, the gore was pretty decent, but I'm going to get into the mixed about that. The gore was pretty decent, what we saw, and you know the effects and all around. Now the acting was pretty decent, and the cinematography was pretty good. So, and the effects all good. They're all positives. So when you're going in to see this, there is, when it comes to stuff like acting, cinematography, gore, effects, it's all pretty decent. So you've nothing to worry about here. You're not going to throw your eyes up in the air. So negatives, I don't really have any, because you know the kind of film you're going to see, and it delivered in all those aspects. So when it comes to negative, I mean, like, it is an award-winning movie. It ain't the greatest thing you'll ever see. It isn't the best horror you've seen, but it's actually everything you would hope for it should be. I felt that it was. So the negatives, I'm just going to give it a pass with that. I think the pacing could, not the pacing, but the time, the run, could have shaved off maybe 10 minutes. I seem to get impatient with these things. But for me, everything else was just fine. So I'm not going to give any negatives towards it. But I have some mixed. So mixed. The Cenobites and Pinhead herself, or him, or whatever he's supposed to be. I It's hard to compare. It's hard not to compare, you should say, between the old ones and the new ones. And I feel that Jamie Clayton as Pinhead did a really decent job. Yeah, she did the best she could, and I can't fault her. And had she been Pinhead before Doug Bradley, maybe things are different. But we've seen Doug Bradley, and his voice alone just kind of like dominates the screen. I felt like I didn't like the design of her outfit. I did prefer the black on the old ones, you know, the black suit and the tight leather or whatever it was, on all of them. Um, I did like the Cenobite, and I don't know what its name, but you could see it's kind of a darker looking one, and its arms kind of split open. You'll know when you see. I did like the look of that one. I didn't hate them. I just thought like Doug Bradley's makeup and the way he looked and his design for me was a bit better. Well, it was a lot better actually, but and his voice, the way he commanded the whole screen, he stole the movie, and he was only in it the first couple for only a few minutes, and he just stole the whole movie. For this, she was still fine, but I just feel like, yeah, I'm just rambling on now, but I feel like Doug Bradley had a better on screen presence than she did. As I said, I wasn't crazy about the designs and all of them, and they look fine. And this is not a negative. This is just mixed. It's just my opinion when I'm comparing to the old ones. And some of them are really good. I just didn't like the clothes or something. I don't know. It looked like part skin. I don't know. It didn't work for me. I felt like it would have been better if they just showed their face wearing clothes. But there you go. It's just mixed. Kind of more of a nitpick, but I still didn't hate it. I thought it was just fine. Going into this, I wasn't sure if it was a reboot or a sequel or what. And it's its own story. It could be actually a sequel because it's not a reboot. It's not a soft reboot. It's just another story. And according to what I know on the book, that, as I said, Pinhead is gender neutral. So you could just say it just looks a bit different, or she looks a bit different on this. So as I said, I'm glad it wasn't a reboot. It was just another story, which I feel like sometimes we should do more of a continuation or a sequel rather than a reboot all the time, do you know, and redo this. And the story's pretty decent, and it wasn't bad, and it was quite coherent, and you know, it was just pretty good. So I liked all that. But if you're a Hellraiser fan and you're going in just to hate this for the sake of it, don't do that. Give it a chance. Go and see it for the film it is. If you don't like it, you still got the old ones, and you know what? I feel like you'll have fun with this. I do. So go and check it out. It's rated R. Now, another thing, when it comes to the gore, I was expecting a lot more gore in this than I got. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got plenty of gore in it, yeah, especially the second half of the movie, or the third act anyway. I just expected with a Hellraiser movie, which I've just watched, a shitload more gore than we got. I mean, like, there was even scenes where I was turning my eyes away from the screen from watching the old ones. This one I didn't. But as I said, it's still pretty decent. The gore is fine. I'm just saying I was expecting a lot more moments where I'll be cringing and turning my eyes, but I didn't. But still decent enough. Now, if you're a die-hard Hellraiser fan and you're going to go into nitpick this to shit, then don't bother going to see it, because you probably find loads of stuff about it. But I personally, I'm not a big, massive Hellraiser fan. I'm a fan, but I saw this as a good kind of not a continuation, but another story, a good story added, or a sequel even. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It's a shitload better than some of the Hellraiser movies they've done. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. It's definitely worth a watch. It's better than a lot of the horrors and a lot of remakes we're getting, or reboots, whatever you call them, than we're getting today. And if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you hate it? Let me know, no matter what, in the comments below. And like and subscribe as normal. But for now, and until next time,